Yo, what's up everybody? It is absolutely the crack of dawn here. The sun hasn't even come up yet. I'm just walking around, lighting everything up. There we go. Alright, I'm pretty lucky today. I've got a mate of mine, Brendo, who helps us out here. He's coming in early and we're throwing the bumper on the back of the VK. I was just doing a couple of jobs on that on the weekend. So he's going to give me a hand to fit that back up, and then the VK is out for wheel alignment, which is another pretty big step forward as far as getting it finished. But the other thing that happened yesterday, which is pretty cool, the Chevy truck got its 3 coats of 2K primer. So that's pretty much the cab and the fenders and the doors. Last step before colour. So we noticed a couple little imperfections that just got to be tidied up in that, but we've come a long way on that. I think Brendan had a look at it the other day. I think there's 430 odd hours of body work in that truck, and of course we already had done a significant amount of work before he came on to really dial it in for us. But considering a lot of these restos go 600 hours, to 1,000 hours, we're sitting pretty good with that one. So we'll check it out. So as you can see there, for the first time, it's actually all one colour, albeit primer. It's a good feeling to look at it, at that stage after all this work. So just sort of cruising down the side. I was lucky enough to see this when it was wet yesterday as he was putting it on, and everything looks really good. Like I said, just a couple of little imperfections we noticed, and all it was is just in this line here. There's just a little tidy up to do there and into that line on both sides, but it's really not that much. The other thing which is really cool, try and get it in the right light, whether you can see it or not. No, unfortunately it's a bit hard to see, but it's got a really nice crisp line up the cowl, really nice crisp line in the center of the roof. So yeah, just those little details and accents are going to make it so much better. Very cool. Anyway, here early as for a reason, so better grab some tools and get this bumper on. Well, unfortunately I was under the pump there yesterday morning, so I didn't get time to sort of film us putting that rear bumper on. But that's all on there, and the car went out and had an alignment. I did notice though, once again it's fairly small, so it'll be hard to see, but this right hand front wheel is actually about probably about 8 mil further forward in the wheel arch, and confirmed with a tape measure that on the right hand side the wheelbase is actually slightly longer. So whether that is from previous accident damage, we did notice building this car that it had a small impact on the left hand front that we fixed. And so what I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to shim the radius rod back and get that the same both sides. It won't take much, and then the boys are just going to put it back on the machine and finalise the alignment from there. But that's just one of those things that happens, especially on old cars, so we'll just revisit that and get that right. While that was out and about yesterday, I got indicators installed in the bumper on the coupe, number plate lights. The customer wanted the number plate flipped upside down, or flipped up under the bumper, sorry, rather than on the top. What else did we get up to? Got the indicators in the front bumper. I made all the brackets for mounting the air conditioner condenser and mounting the fan to the front of the condenser. So we've got 2 fans on the front there. we'll bring both of those in at about 190 degrees, or both of them as the aircon's running. I fitted some air conditioner bulkhead fittings to the lower rad support so that we can do the hoses from the condenser down to those, and then the grill can go in to stay in, and nobody has to bother pulling that out again. So that'll just save a bit of time down the track there. So the mission today is just keep ticking off some little jobs on this one. I've got to put a washer bottle in for windscreen washers, and I've made some tricky little parts that I learnt to do when I did my last hot rod. No one really seems to do like a nice, like a stainless steel fitting to go through the cowl for like your windscreen washers. So we'll show you sort of how I make them up. Yeah, they work really good, and they're made out of stainless, they don't rust, and they're fairly unobtrusive on the cowl. So we might have a little bit of a look at that later on. But what I'm going to do first thing this morning is I'm going to do a little bit more work on this 383 small block. I had the rockers and lifted preloads and everything all set on that the other day, and I mocked it up with some fairly aggressive roller rockers. Usually sort of run a 1.5 or a 1.6 on a small block Chevy, but I actually mocked it up with a set of 1.65s and get away with it. Geometry was pretty close to spot on, but I stewed on it for a couple of nights and decided to put a set of 1.6s on it. So I'm just going to mock it up with some 1.6s this morning. I may have to get another set of push rods. That's all right, stuff happens, you know, pushing the boundaries, trying to squeeze a bit more power out of everything. Yeah, we'll mock it up again and go from there. I'm not happy until they're right, so we'll just have a crack this morning and go from there. So we might set the time lapse up on that and have a bit of a play with that first thing. I think what's the time? It's about 6:45 in the morning here, so I'll put an hour or so into that before I get back into the coop. So yeah, that didn't take too long to confirm that. So definitely going to need a different length push rod now for those 1.6s. So I'm going to go ahead and just knock all that apart again, mock up some adjustable push rods in there and get a set of those organised, and I'll probably be able to button that up tonight after work. But yeah, I think I'll be able to get that. I'm not sure if there's a pattern on here or not to show you. No, there's not, unfortunately, but I had the pattern on the valve like nearly bang on, but yeah, just probably pushing the boundaries a little bit too far. So we'll get that sorted tonight, and we'll be all good to seal her up. So I'm just zooming right in on top of that valve and just put some assembly lube on the top there, and ran it through a cycle on the intake valve. And you can see how short that roller pattern is, and it's just back from the center of the valve. That's at a 7.4 push rod, so might just try a 7.450 and give it one more run through. But yeah, I'm much happier with the 1.6 roller on there. That's definitely working out better. So that pattern there, right smack in the middle, and even probably slightly shorter pattern, which is even better. That's its push rod at 7.450. So we'll get a set of them and we'll switch them all out and set the preloads, and I'm going to be much happier with that, and I can stop thinking about it. It's either right or it's not right. So just back working on the coupe here, and the customer's got a couple of reservoir bottles that he had purchased previously. So I'm just looking at the second one, and I think we can turn that into a windscreen washer motor. We should be able to mirror that so it looks nice and symmetrical on the firewall. So that's the reservoir we use for the coolant overflow. This one here is about twice the length, so I might look at cutting that down, fitting this little electric pump in there and mounting it up on the firewall. So that worked out really well. I just modified this little reservoir that the customer had and turned it into a washer bottle. That way it'll sort of mirror up on the firewall. So yeah, just modified the tank, put a couple of brackets on it, put a fitting in the bottom so that we can run the washer pump. And now we're just getting that mounted up on the firewall. So they're bolted up now, sitting pretty and looking nice and symmetrical. Nice and level with each other. Goes with the theme of the rest of the engine bay really well. So that's a cool deal. Then what I was talking about with the squirters to go through the plenum. So these started out as button head stainless steel bolts, welded up the little Allen cap section of it, and then drilled a hole down through at an angle to make sure that that sort of squirts up on the windscreen. Drilled up through the center, and then we'll just poke the hoses on those. And I've done the same thing on my 51 hot rod, and they work great. And gave the little heads a polish so that they look nice through the plenum. Solution found, and it'll be killer. Let's check that out. Alright, so there are our windscreen washer squirters that we made. They're installed into the plenum now, angling out nicely to hit the window. Obviously with the nut on the bottom we can loosen them and turn them around anyway. I've sort of drilled out at about 30 degrees, so you know it's sort of going to hit the glass and work well. But yeah, hopefully that helps someone else out, because when I got to that part with my hot rod I looked at all kinds of options and no one really had anything to solve it other than sort of putting, you know, plastic ones in out of modern cars, and I just wasn't down with that at all. And obviously, you know, being stainless, you can polish it, it won't rust, it'll always look awesome, and it sort of blends in, you know, with the rest of the chrome on the car. So good deal. So we just used a little Speedflow -4 fitting to go through the firewall, and just a tiny little vacuum line off that washer motor through the firewall. So then we just got to plumb those lines with a little wire piece up to the squirters. But our Auto Sparky James has been in today and just hooked up those air conditioning lines to the fittings that we'd already put in there. So they're all nice and tight. So I'm going to put the grill in, and the grill can stay in after this round. Celebration moment. So I went to fit the grill, and basically all the original fasteners and everything were just no good at all. So look, I hate using nut certs, but in this case it's going to make everyone's life easy. So all new nut certs in the grill holes, stainless steel button head fasteners with some anti-seize on all of those, so that hopefully anybody can get them out, you know, if ever required, because they're not in a great spot. But I'll spin the camera around. I want you to have a look at the front of this thing with me, and every time I look at one of these grills and the fronts of these old cars, you know, 30s and 40s, they're just so cool. Probably this one in particular, because growing up, my uncle, and he's still got it now, but he's got a 1938 four-door Chevy, you know, that we used to hot rod around in and have a hell of a good time, you know, growing up. And I think that car and another one that's here today, actually,
is probably really what kicked this off. Like undoubtedly, it was my uncle, you know, back in the day that really got me started down this path. I had a bit of a hiatus there for a while. You know, really only just doing race car stuff. But passion's definitely back for this hot rod street car scene, and yeah, working on this car makes me smile a hell of a lot. I mean, it's just undeniable that grille, that headlight, you know, the big curvy fenders, the small windscreen, just everything about that shape is just badass. Like, there's nothing you'd change on it. You know, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I've got a 4-door that we're going to do, you know, a fairly extensive cut up and chop and everything on. But when you look at this coupe, like the styling cues, the flow, you just, I don't know. To me, you don't change a damn thing, you know, other than exactly what we've done. Modern power, modern overdrive, modern brakes, you know, heap of chassis work. It's just a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Well, that's going to wrap this one up, I reckon. But before we go, I'd just like to pan down the side of something that we're about to get started on as the VK gets wrapped up. We've just pulled another one out of storage, and it's time to get into it. So let's have a quick look at that, and then we'll say goodbye. So here we have a genuine HJ 4-door GDS Monaro. We've just got that in, and we'll be doing a full bare metal restoration on this vehicle. It's complete, it's fairly untouched. We'll be interested to see what it's like once we really start digging into it. But yeah, that one is coming up now, so there'll be plenty of videos on that one, so hopefully you'll tune in and see how it goes. Thanks heaps for watching. I'm going to get right into it now. I'm going to finish off a Friday strong. We'll do some videoing over the weekend when we're back on the Chevy truck. Until then, enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you soon.